Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television SBTV. I'm your host, Patrick Vieira, and today we're going to go ahead and do it live. So we hope you all had a great weekend, and we know that a lot of you, it's Sunday evening, you're getting ready for bed, or it's early Sunday morning. So we do thank you for being here with us. A little bit of housekeeping. We do hope that if it's your first time here or if you have not done so, that you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel and go ahead and click on the bell to be updated on new content, and do give us a thumbs up if you like what we do. So we'll move forward a bit, and usually it's Monday morning here in Singapore, and one of the first things that we do like to do is to go ahead and see what's happening with the news. So I'll go ahead and take a look at my Twitter feed while we wait for a few of you guys to come on board. Hang on here. Just let me just get through some things here. A little bit of housekeeping. Okay, so what I like to do Monday mornings is go ahead and scroll through some of the news that's been going on, and so let's take a look. Um, let's see. Bloomberg: U.S. officials want to restore trade talks with China. I think that's a given. Trump administration considering imposing tariffs on imports from Australia. I think that's a bit much, going overboard. But these are some of the news that I did bookmark for you guys. One of them pretty interesting. It's about electric cars, which do look to be coming more and more online as far as adoption goes. Where from Bloomberg, electric vehicles mean more power to you. They will soon account for all the car sales growth in the world. So that's pretty interesting there. So let me go down a bit. What the great part about this is when we look at this chart here, switch flipped, electric and hybrid models are forecast to account for all the growth in global passenger vehicle sales from 2023, implying a peak for traditional vehicles. So I find that pretty interesting in that, we are getting to the point where there is going to be some parity between electric and ICE, internal combustion engine vehicles, and eventually electric vehicles look like they're going to take over in 2030. The blue and the black bars being electric vehicles and plug-in types, and you can see that by 2030, it looks like they're going to overtake easily, and if not, be the norm compared to petrol, gas, diesel engines. So, this is one of the reasons why we do have market updates. We try to bring this info to you folks as much as we can. Some other news that we had, or that I bookmarked, was the World Silver Survey, which is made up by the Silver Institute. They brought out their report, which is pretty interesting also. And I downloaded that for you guys, or I should say I screen capped it here. The interesting thing with this is when we look at the world silver supply and demand, we see that it's measured in millions of ounces, and we see that the total supply over to the far right, 2018, is 1,000 million ounces, or I'm going to say that's a billion ounces. I hope I'm right here. 1,004 million ounces silver supply. We scroll down a bit, the physical demand, we see 1,033 ounces, and we see that there's a deficit of negative 29.2 million ounces. That's pretty interesting, considering that there is again a shortage of silver, but somehow we're not seeing that reflected in the silver price. And the shortage, where is it coming from? They're coming from jewelry makers, coins and bars, which are most of us, silverware, and of course industrial fabrication, where we are looking at electrical and electronics. So there is again a very, very high use for silver. Don't let the news get you down if you're wondering what's going on with silver price and everything else, because it's doing just fine. The demand is there. Another piece of interesting news: Trump administration now vetting social media accounts of visa applicants. So, guys, be careful what you put on Facebook and everything else because you are being monitored. Don't ever forget that. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the chat. Meta Silver, hey, how you doing? Penny pinching prepper, silver is king. That is true. Boeing stock plummeted this week, shorting that stock. Boeing's still having a bit of a rough time. I think they've been going around the world trying to convince people that the 737 Max is doing okay. But I think we're going to find out soon enough what's really going on with that plane and what's going on with Boeing. Um, I don't know if you guys had a chance earlier this week to catch that the interview we had with Jesse Felder. Jesse had a lot of interesting things to say. And what I did was I took out a 2 minute clip that I wanted to share with you guys. So bear with me for the next 2 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and play Jesse's clip, and then we'll see what you guys have to say about that.
Yeah, the Fed has already raised rates enough to create recession. If you look at, the shadow Fed funds rate and these types of things, which add quantitative easing into quantitative tightening into the rate hikes. The amount of tightening that we've had over the last couple of years has been typically in the past has been enough to create recession, bear market, those types of things. But it's, the Fed really flipped, last December. And I think that was Jay Powell, just becoming frightened about his own ability to reverse the wealth effect that they spent 10 years trying to create. And that just freaked him out. What I think is probably going to, pop this bubble. I mean, nobody knows, but I do think it's this reversion of profit margins, and I do think it's a shift from disinflation to inflationary pressures, because that makes it so much more difficult. Most people, when they look at the stock market, they look at things, they look back maybe 20 years. So they're looking at valuations only during the dot-com mania till today, right? They're not looking at any other market environment, and they're only looking at a disinflationary environment. So it's very, very limited to have only a 10 or 20-year look-back period. When you look back further, 40, 50, 100 years, there's all kinds of different backdrops to the markets. And if we are shifting from a disinflationary to an inflationary backdrop again, that means, financial assets generally are going to struggle, and real assets are going to do much better.
Okay, so from what Jesse is saying, a recession looming. Do you guys think a recession is looming, and is it time to switch from our financial assets into hard, real, physical assets? So I'm curious to see what you folks think about that. Let me open up the chat box and see how things are going here. Let's see. The Chief 71 reading tea leaves of Peter Schiff and Eric Sprott comments. It may be possible Fed may need to do an urgent rate cut even before September meeting. Oh, I tell you what. I think rate cuts. They're pretty sensitive right now. Most of the guests we've been talking to, they do say that the Fed's going to have to do something, especially with the 2020 election coming up. Usually the Fed makes moves that are in favor of a sitting president. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Penny pinching prepper, SBTV, one of my favorite channels. Well, thank you. We appreciate that very, very, very much. Pablo Pina. Hola, Patrick. Hello. How you doing, Pablo? Stock to plummet this week, shorting that stock. Boeing. Yeah, we talked about that one a bit. I you know what? I'm gonna remember that and see how it plays out. Leblanc Deming, you're welcome. I do try my best. It's quite a task to do for you guys. You guys are all a bunch of smart people, and I appreciate all your feedback, whichever way it may be. But I want to share with you another interesting clip that I picked up over the weekend from Greg Hunter, who I believe just posted yesterday. He was interviewing Catherine Austin Fitz, And again, this is about a 2 minute clip or so. So I'm really interested to see what your opinion is on this.
It's very interesting. The Secretary of the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, just got sued for being part of a group of investors who are accused of asset stripping Sears before it went down. And my question is, was Mnuchin put in here to do the same thing, finish the asset stripping before they completely re-engineer the U.S. government?
When you say they're going to re-engineer the U.S. government, what does that mean to people who are holding these pensions, who are depending on Social Security, who are depending on Medicaid, Medicare, all the other various sundry massive amounts of social programs that we have here in America?
So our pensions and retirement savings have treasuries, which are essentially an IOU from ourselves, from 325 million residents in America, most of which are, some of which are working to pay the taxes. So it's an IOU from ourselves. But if all the assets we financed have disappeared into private corporations and private contractors and private banks out of the back door, it's a very different credit than if those assets are still in the government.
Meaning there's no there. There's no asset to back up the promises.
Well, here's the question. If the U.S. government has refused for, since 1996, so that's quite a while, if they've refused for 25 years to produce audited financial statements as required by law, and we know from what financial accounts and disclosure they have produced that there appears to be, massive violations of the law and 21 trillion of undocumentable adjustments, then there's nothing to say that all those assets aren't disappearing out of the back door. I mean, we know that Washington at this point is on a merry-go-round of Congress doing things that make the stock market go up. So, Congress does something that causes the stock market to go up, and then the people who make capital gains on that turn around and give campaign contributions to Congress, and round we go.
Round and round we go. So, what do you all think? Is the U.S. undergoing re-engineering, and if so, what does that mean for the dollar? That's a good question to think about. Uh, let's see. Fish on beans, bullets, and band-aids. All right, there you go. That might be some of the best advice that we all can be taking on right now. Lieblang Deming, Bitcoin is having quite a run. Yes, it is. Would you recommend jumping in at this time? I've been stacking physical for a while. Is it time to buy crypto? If so, which one? That's a tough question. Simply because I would not want to give anyone advice, and I have to tell you, there was a time I did own Bitcoin. I got out, and I'm trying to decide when to go back in again. I may have missed it myself. It was at the bottom for so long. I'm also debating to go back in, and I do think Bitcoin. I think other coins. It may be somewhat late. I think Litecoin. There was a great opportunity to buy that for a long time, and now it's gone up. So it may be a bit late on Litecoin, but we'll see how that plays out. Uh, let's see. Would real estate be considered a hard asset, or is real estate not considered to be a hard asset at this point due to being in a real estate bubble? Question from Sean McDonald. Sean, that's another great question. Real estate definitely is an asset. The only problems I have with real estate is right now it is in a bubble, but that's not so much the issue I have with real estate. The issue I have is the liquidity of real estate. How fast can you get your money if you need your money? And real estate does take a while to sell. So it's not as liquid as a lot of other things, let's say like silver and gold. Definitely not as liquid. It's going to take time before you can get your money. And the thing is, let's say if it is during a time that you want to sell, when there is a bit of a economic event going on, you would not want to sell your real estate to go back into dollars, right? You would need to have a buyer who has something that you're willing to take, whether he'll sell you a business for your real estate, whether he'll sell you silver, gold for your real estate. So, real estate, it's not a definite 100% yes that it would be something that can benefit you in the long run, but if the world stays the same and things are okay, definitely real estate. Again, I'm only looking at it from the viewpoint of things are going to go bad, and I'm going to possibly need, something other than fiat to get by. And real estate, I'm not going to say no. Real estate's a good thing. You go ahead and get it. You should get it. Real estate is one of the top things everyone should have. So let me back up on that a bit. Stay in your real estate. Don't be frightened over it. Um, let's see. Even though you might own real estate outright, all your neighbors exposed to debt. So once they crash your equity, that is true. I think at that time you're going to see a lot of people who are going to be trying to sell off their real estate, and it's going to definitely be dragging the price of real estate down. Uh, Leblanc real estate is in a bubble. I'm waiting for the pullback and swap physical metals for real estate later. That's not a bad idea. I'd say that's a pretty good strategy as well. Um, but since we're on the topic of metals, a couple of weeks ago, I asked you guys if you test your metals, and I was quite shocked to hear that a lot of you don't. So I need to ask again: have you ever tested your precious metals? And the reason I'm saying this is because, from a bullion dealer perspective, I can tell you that a lot of the metals sold are not direct from the mint, and it's easily verifiable by just look at the dates on the coins from your bullion dealer that you're buying from. If he has 2017, 2016, 2015, 2014, more than likely those are not direct from the mint, where they have been sitting in his shop for X amount of years. um, so for that reason, you need to understand that a lot of the bullion come from sellbacks, meaning someone will sell it to the bullion dealer will turn around and resell. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just part of trading. But the issue is, if your bullion dealer is not testing that bullion that he's buying and then turn around and selling it back to you, you could be holding bullion that is not bullion. So that's the reason I say, even though you're buying from a reputable dealer, you need to know that your dealer is testing everything, because again, not everything your dealer is getting is coming straight direct from the mint. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, it's not nothing to scare you about. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the dealers are using best practices, but it's just to say that there's a lot of movement of gold, silver going in and out. So, they testing every single piece. It can be done, but is it being done? So that's the question, and that's why I had asked if you guys are testing your gold and silver that you buy. Uh, so let's see. I'll go back to some of the questions. Property taxes. There's no such thing as owning real estate outright. Uh, I guess that depends how you look at it. The government, they are going to tax you on it. I mean, you do own it. You do own it. It's just that the government wants to tax what you own. They need to get some money off of your assets. Um, that's always an issue with governments, and the things that they try to do. Um, one announcement I'd like to make also is that incur what I'd like you to know is that we're going to be changing the release of our videos, the schedule. We won't be releasing videos on Sunday nights anymore. We're going to move them to Wednesday nights. So the videos will be released Wednesday nights, and we're going to go ahead and try and make Sunday nights regular time for live stream. And I think, in fact, next week live stream, we're going to take it an hour earlier. We're going to bring it down to 9 p.m. for you all. So hopefully you can get to bed a bit earlier. I know it's late wherever you are. So again, we'll be moving live streams to 9 p.m. Sunday nights, and our video release will be Wednesday night. So just take note of that in case you wonder what happened to us. We didn't get shut down from YouTube or anything. It's just that we went ahead and moved our videos to a different day. But getting back to cryptos, another thing with that, there's always the challenge of storing and safekeeping of your private keys. We always hear exchanges getting hacked and whatnot, Bitcoin being stolen, this and that. Bitcoin being stolen equals someone knew your private key, okay, or someone knew a private key and was able to access the Bitcoin. So when we hear Bitcoin was stolen, what we're hearing really is someone knew your private key or a private key to get your Bitcoin. So storage of private keys is absolutely important, and even for that, I'm curious to know how are you guys storing your Bitcoin, especially since it's been going up in value. Are you taking care of it? Are you taking care of your silver, gold? Are you taking care of your Bitcoin? Okay, Liblong, thank you. There are many YouTubers that release on Sunday nights. I didn't know that, so I guess we're gonna be one of them. Hopefully that's a good thing. Uh, Rod Brumley, USMC Lieutenant Colonel, sir. Good evening. Let me see your question. Let me get back to it. What is your price forecast for year-end gold and silver? Just asking your opinion. Colonel, I'm hoping gold or silver anyway can get somewheres into at least an $18 range. I know that's it's quite a fetch from where we are now, but that's my hope. That's my hope. Being real, I think if we can just somehow stay somewhere between 16 in a 16 range, I think that's very possible. But my hope is somewhere more about in the $18 range. For gold, I think gold is going to do fairly well. I'm hoping that gold will be somewhere around 14 by year's end as a conservative outlook. I'm really hoping for those two. Let's see. Fish on, yes sir. Test, yes. Please do test your metal. Like I said, it's not that your bullion dealers may be trying to cheat anyone. It's just that the volume is can be quite a bit to test every single piece that comes through the door. It can be done, but is it being done? Two different things. Buying a TL30 safe next month to protect my good. Always buy a safe. You need to have a safe at home. But the other thing with that is, I've always felt keeping my bullion next to me is the only way to go. And then after listening to a number of people, they started talking about just the same as you diversify your assets, you need to diversify the location of your assets, and that would include where you're keeping your silver and gold. I mean, let's say if I were in the States still, I my first thought would be keep everything with me. But then again, I have to ask myself, is the US closer to stability or is the US closer to chaos? And my answer would be the US is closer to chaos. So being that it's closer to chaos, I think one of the things that I made myself look at, and I do mean made myself because it was never even on my radar before, but I made myself look at opening up to the idea of storing some of that gold and silver outside of the US. As I've said before, keep some with me, but not all of it. Keep some of it outside the US because, again, the question is, do you think the US is closer to being stable or do you think the US is closer to chaos? And if your answer is chaos, then we need to prepare for that. If your answer is stability, then you'd prepare for that in a different way. So let's see. Lieutenant Colonel, thanks. You're welcome. Don't hold me to it, huh? It's just a hopeful guess. And silver, gold, they both been fairly slow right now. But when people buy, they have been buying a lot. But it's been a bit in between. They buy a lot, then there's a pause, and then they may buy a lot again. But some we do see them selling, which is a bit unfortunate because I think you folks know over at the Silver Bullion, we do have peer to peer where the people that do store with us, excuse me, the people that do store with us, they can actually take out a very low interest loan against their holdings. This is not leasing gold. This is not leasing silver. This is you still maintain ownership of your gold and of your silver, but it's a chance for you to take out a very low interest loan on it, a peer to peer loan, and then go ahead and redeploy your funds. Maybe you want to buy more silver at that point. Maybe you want to buy more gold. Maybe you want to buy crypto. EVs, we just spoke about electric vehicles. Nickel looks promising and nickel is low right now. So maybe you'd like to get nickel or whatever else. Daughter's getting married, college tuition, whatever it might be. But the point is, if you already have those assets, gold and silver, you don't need to sell it. You still own it and you can take out a low interest loan against it and go ahead and do whatever it is you need to do. So that one, keep in mind. It even for myself, it took me a while to wrap my head around it. But once I saw the benefits of it and that it is real, it became something that definitely stays on my radar if in case those times come where may need a little bit of extra funds. It happens to all of us, right? Let's see. Fish on. Thieves won't dig, but they will home invade and hold a gun to your family's head, bury it in multiple locations. Okay, that is true. Diversifying locations can be burying it in different locations. All right, that's true. You can also do that. But the point being with diversifying locations is I'm really talking about jurisdiction. If in case let's say the U.S. decides to expropriate or confiscate gold again, whatever it may be, being that you have your metal outside of the U.S., you would be a lot safer. Okay, and this being because the U.S. won't be able to get to it, won't be able to reach it. And the thing is, you don't need to do it forever. You can do it temporarily just to get through the times that you feel uneasy, where things may be better, safe, or things may be safer in another location than in a particular location. Other people, they do it as a form of wealth protection, where they buy it, they hold it, they store it, it stays there, and it's just their insurance. A lot of times people will tell you gold and silver is insurance. That is true. It is true. And it's probably the only insurance that can also act as an investment. So do keep that in mind as well. So gold and silver, they are two things that can definitely be there for you when you need them. But as I mentioned, coming up next week, Wednesday, that's when we're going to move our next video airing to. And I'll go ahead and give you a little preview as to who's coming on Wednesday and what one of the topics will be.
In the state pension funds, the corporate pension funds are in most cases also underfunded. The states have large deficits in some cases. I think a lot of pensioners are seriously concerned about this already now.
Are your pensions going to be there? Are U.S. pensions in trouble? We're going to release Dr. Mark Faber Wednesday night, Wednesday night. And we're going to be talking about pensions. He himself has concern for all of us with our pensions. He gets a pension of sorts himself from the Swiss government, but he doesn't exactly need it. But for the rest of us, we probably do need our pensions. And he goes over it where we look at pensions from the private sector, where corporate pensions, they might not be there. Government pensions, they might not be there. Or I should say, as much as we'd like them to be, where we're not getting a full 100% of our pension, we probably will be getting less. So even if you're a hammer swinging union carpenter, also your let's say your annuity or your pension might also go down a bit as well. So Wednesday night, Dr. Mark Faber, we're going to be talking about this, U.S. pensions and other things. So let's see. Fish on. Oh yeah, the boss Faber. Faber, he's good. I really enjoy everything he has to say. Yes, you made the right decision. I loved it. Yes. 95% bullion. No worries. Okay, good. Stick with bullion. But I'm also curious, are you guys into junk silver as well? The junk silver, there is a pretty good demand for that, and there's a reason for it. So I'm wondering if you guys are into junk silver. The chief, Alan Greenspan, made amazing comment about pensions in U.S. Congress years ago. I'm going to have to I'm gonna have to look that one up. See what Greenspan said. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you as well. So, but that's something to keep an eye on is your pensions. I think a lot of guys they're going to be retiring also in the next, let's say, 10 years or so. And the thing is that even if the nominal amount of their pension is there, the problem is the purchasing power of that pension is not going to be anywhere near what they were hoping it to be. So that's the other part. And one other way that you can help out putting yourself in a better position as far as your retirement or your pensions. I know a lot of you guys do have 401ks, and we talked about this before. You do have 401ks, but do you know this is true now? Do you know that you can use part of that 401k or other IRA types of vehicles? You can go ahead and roll it over into a precious metals IRA. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, your 401k, I'm sure it's made a good amount of money over the years. But the thing is, if you're already buying gold and silver because you feel there may be some sort of a economic event coming down the road, then why would you keep your 401k in paper still? Wouldn't it be a better decision perhaps to roll over some of that 401k also into precious metals in case there is some type of an event? You've given yourself an out. You've given yourself time because 401ks typically they are paper, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things like that. That's all paper. So should the economy get in trouble, financial system get in trouble, all that paper, we already know it's going to get in trouble. It's going to start to vanish. And the thing is, a lot of us, we aren't young enough where we have time to recover from that sort of an event with our retirement. So I do hope that rolling over your 401k and other things into a precious metals IRA is something that you might want to consider or take a look into. We're not the guys to actually advise you from A to Z on what to do with it, but we can definitely help direct you on what you need to do, perhaps who you might want to talk to, what actually happens when people do roll over their 401k accounts. So again, it's something I do hope that you folks do consider. Faber is straight up honest. Fishon, Faber is straight up honest. He tells it like it is. Yes, he does. He does. This is the second time we interviewed Faber and Dr. Faber, and the first time there was a video glitch. His video feed was off and on, off and on, and in the end, I decided it's okay. His video is not the best, but we'll just run with it. And then I had to make a decision: should we just do audio or do we go ahead with the video? That was good and bad, good and bad. So we went ahead with the video, and so I called Dr. Faber when we did this interview, and the first thing out of his mouth to me was, "What happened with my video?" And I'm like, "Oh no, he remembered." I'm like, "Okay, Dr. Faber, I'm sorry about that." And then so the mood was a bit tough in the beginning, but Dr. Faber, he will tell you straight. And so there's one thing I think a lot of people appreciate about Dr. Faber. Uh, Pablo Pina, purchasing power will diminish with printing money. QE sequels. You know what, Pablo? That looks like it's headed our way again. It does look like QE's on the table one more time. Jerome Powell. We had Danielle DiMartino Booth last year, and she said that she hopes Powell can keep the Fed independent and not let the Fed get politicized. I don't know about that, but Trump in December last year, as the Fed was raising rates, Trump said the Fed is crazy, and then we saw Jerome Powell start to pull back. He started to pull back, slow down raising interest rates, and now they're talking about going back on interest rates. And if they go back on interest rates, I mean, you'd have to say QE is probably back on the table again. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. LeBlanc Deming sold all my 401ks. Yes, I know. Just wanted to get away from U.S. government. You know, it's I agree with you there. And for a lot of us, getting away from the U.S. government does not mean that we don't care about the country. It just means that we need to protect our own selves and families as well from what may be coming down the road. So it's not anything where someone may be more or less patriotic. It's nothing like that. It's just that we all feel that things can be coming down the road that's not beneficial to us. So we all do different things to help protect ourselves and our families. But as I always say, we're all in this boat together, and we need to help each other and find ways to get through it all, no matter how rough the seas get and no matter how many people get on this boat. We have to make it work. Hard assets seem rational, Pablo. Yeah, hard assets for sure. You definitely don't want to be completely in financial assets, and hard assets, they're probably the way to go right now. Real estate, yes, one of them. Again, my only concern is what happens when you want to sell. How long will it take, and what's the environment you're selling into? Those are my only concerns. But you should have real estate. I believe every person should have a piece of land or home that they can call their own. So yeah, get real estate if you can. If you use the IRA, the physical you hold is known by the government. They can take it all. Okay, with that, what happens is the custodian or the administrator who is handling your 401 or your precious metals IRA every year, yes, they do have to tell the government what you have in your account. They don't break it down. They don't say 50 silver eagles, 100 silver. They don't do it that way. They just give one bulk accounting of what you're holding, and it's a monetary amount. I do believe it's a monetary amount. So the government just sees it as you're holding X amount of dollars in this account that happen to be in precious metals, but they don't know what you have in precious metals because I believe they don't break it down item per item. So with that part, you know, they can take it all. Well, that's also where if you do keep that precious metals IRA outside of the US, it becomes much more difficult for them to take it all. I mean, let's say if it's in Singapore, take a trip to Singapore, remove your gold, silver, it is yours. I mean, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. If it is in Singapore, you would need to get with your administrator, your IRA administrator, and there are things that they can do. You could sell it for one thing, cash. You could sell it for crypto for another thing. I mean, there's a lot of outs that you do have that the government may not necessarily be able to come in and take your physical. So again, there are things you can do even in that scenario to protect yourself. Okay. We can only help if we have assets. That is true. I've also said this before where we're all going to be either a blessing or a burden. And having assets is something that will make us a blessing because the time's going to come where people are going to need help, whether it's our friends, whether it's our families. And unfortunately, a lot of them are not seeing what's going on right now and how they should be moving into to precious metals or other hard liquid assets. And but the thing is, we can't just turn our back on people, right? We're going to have to help them in some way. So we have to do what we need to do, and if we were blessed in that way, then when the time comes, we will, in some cases or many cases, have to help our friends and family. So it's not going to be one of those haha I told you so type of a thing. It's really, things are going bad. People are having a really tough situation, and we may be in a position to help. Like I say, somebody's going to need to sell their business for pennies on the dollar. You may be able to buy it. Somebody's going to have to sell their real estate for pennies on the dollar. You may be able to buy it. And this is the good thing, or one of the strong points about having silver and gold or other hard assets, is because it's not in that financial system. You can go ahead and pretty much be rest assured that even though paper assets may take a hit, the real hard physical assets are going to be where the value of those paper assets are going to transfer to. So with that, I'm going to be ending this live stream soon. I do need to get to the office. Let me look at a few more questions. Will it be possible for you to interview Roy Seabag, the CEO of Gold Money, one of the smartest thinkers in the world around? Well, what's wrong with my thinking? Why do we need Roy? We have me and my thinking. Okay, we'll consider that. Roy Seabag. Okay, we'll put him on the list and see if we can do something with him. Uh, Leblong, I'm putting together sharing food packs for those who come looking for help. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, I think Amazon, for instance, they also do sell food that can last you some 20 years or so if you're not able, I suppose, to make your own. But these are, extreme cases. I definitely won't rule them out, but it's always good to prepare even for the extreme things that may come along. So it's not a bad idea. Uh, Folks need to have throwdown loot in a traditional spot for the thieves or government so they can take it and move on and don't find your main stashes. Okay, so in other words, we're kind of like we're giving the dog a bone with some scraps of meat on it so he'll sit in his corner and not bug us at the dinner table, right? I mean, we don't want him to come to where the main meal is, right? So, okay, not a bad idea. Um, let the government take what they need to and take the rest. They don't. I suppose you don't want to tell them where all your eggs are, but then again, do follow the law. It's important that we follow the law, but we also need to take care of ourselves as well. I don't advocate breaking the law. I'm not saying that, but take care of your family. You do what you need to do. Okay, so with that, do what you need to do. I also need to do what I need to do, which is get back to the office. I'm sure the guys are waiting to egg me on and kind of tease me a bit with this live stream. But I do thank you for being here and spending time. I know it's also late wherever you're at. So do get some rest, and I do hope you can start the week off refreshed, all charged up, ready to go, positive outlook, positive attitude. And with that, we'll see you guys again Wednesday night. Dr. Faber talking about pensions. So you guys take care, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone.